What's up, family? How y'all doing? Happy Thursday to you. If you are watching this live, and if you're watching this on replay, happy whatever day, whatever blessed day you are looking, listening, watching this. It's your brother, comedian Akintunde, producer Akintunde, and a huge thank you and shout out to my longtime brother and friend and my pastor, Pastor Chandler Bailey Ministries, who holds it down with our Bishop, Dr. Herbert Bailey and Dr. Marsha Bailey at Right Direction Church International. Thank you for all you do, PC, for us, and thank you for all you do through Chandler Bailey Ministries and what you do for the world, which is why I was so glad to be a part of this conversation that you're having tonight with the group of leaders and the group of kingdom entrepreneurs that you have put together. And so I was excited to talk to you all and just share my heart, share some of my experience, and share something I'm very passionate about. And that is that the body of Christ is active in media, arts, and even in entertainment, and that we're utilizing these multiplicity of platforms that we have access to. These tools, these weapons, if you allow, that we have access to assist us in producing content, quality content. And a lot of people, sometimes even the word content is overwhelming. It makes it seem like it's out of reach. It makes it seem like it's something that you can't do. It makes it seem like it's something that will be too much of a challenge. It makes it seem like it's going to be a time hog. It makes it seem like it's going to be too expensive. Some of that, depending on what your perspective is, could be true, and it doesn't have to be. There's ways to work around it. So when Pastor Chandler mentioned this to me and offered this opportunity, I said, man, what a great way to discuss something that I actually talked about in a workshop not too long ago, one of our Kingdom content workshops. And I was like, man, I'm just going to pull a piece from that and really just share my heart and share that content, and hopefully give you some tips and some entry points, if you allow, to be able to start producing your own content for your own ministry, whether that is a church, whether that is an outreach ministry, whether that is a digital online ministry, whether that is whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever you do, whatever your goals, whatever your process, your steps are, your gifts are, there's ways to utilize content to help reach your audience. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And that's one of the things we'll talk about is audience when we get into this. But I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you for allowing me a couple minutes to kind of set up what I want to talk about. If you don't know, again, my name is Akintunde Warnock, producer, comedian. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been a comedian for 31 years. I've been a writer and a producer for about 27 of those years. About 3-4 years in, I started getting writing opportunities, and which led to other opportunities to produce, write for TV shows and all that good stuff. I don't want to belabor the point too much in terms of talking about my resume and my past per se, because I really want to get to this content. But I'll just say this to you: trust and know that I've had some experiences where I've either been a part of some major productions, and I've also seen how people utilize media to promote an agenda, negative or positive, evil or godly. I've watched things happen, and I watched it with an eye of a producer, wondering if the people who's consuming that content fully recognizes what that content is communicating, if it recognizes what that content is leading you to do. And that's probably my biggest thing. Before I even get to the workshop excerpt, I don't really believe that Christians recognize just how powerful media, arts, and entertainment is, how powerful social media, how powerful digital television media. I read something this past week that shocked me. It said today, currently, the average American adult watches, get this, 36 hours of television every single week. Pause on that for a minute. Again, I don't know if this is factual, if it's true, who they surveyed. But I would assume if they were willing to put it in a publication and put it out there as a statistic, that there's some validity to it. 36 hours a week of television content. Now, I'm assuming, this is just me, I'm assuming that could be actual digital television. You're watching your smart TV, you're watching cable, you're watching local TV, or that could be watching your tablet, watching your laptop, or on your phone, which is a huge bulk of that time, I can guarantee. But that's a lot of time to be consuming media. Here's a question, before I even get to the workshop. What does that media look like? What type of media are you consuming? Yeah. I'll have time to get into go deep into that, but I just have to say, what type of media are we consuming? Think about this. When I was preparing for this talk today, it occurred to me. Think about some of the 4 biggest news stories outside of Israel and Hamas and the war in the Middle East, outside of the presidential race, outside of the ongoing President Trump saga. Let's talk about 4 media, not non-consequential media stories that were very, very, very popular and big this year. Just think about 4. If you think about number 1 was the Cat Williams interview on Shannon Sharp's podcast. I refuse to call it Club Shay Shay. I guess I just did. I just don't want to call a man's podcast Shay Shay. Another conversation for another day. Anyway, I'm being petty to a degree, but I'm serious. The think about how big that was. I mean, people were calling me. I mean, I was getting texts when that Cat Williams interview dropped, which is now the most viewed podcast episode in history. Get that. Bigger than Joe Rogan, who is the number 1 and the highest paid podcaster with a $150 million deal. But Cat Williams' podcast with Club Shay Shay, I did it again, Shannon Sharp, the largest, biggest number viewed, highest viewed podcast in history. That's number 1. Number 2, think about the Ty Tribbett church's whack comment that was just a few weeks ago and how viral that went. Okay. Think about number 3. Think about the Diddy saga, which is continuously going on. How big that was. Number 4. Think about the current rap beef. So you got Drake and Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole and Rick Ross, all these rappers who are beefing with each other, supposedly. That's marketing too. But I don't have time to get in that. Go to my YouTube channel and go to my Facebook page. I talk about that. But think about those viral moments, those big stories, these media stories. All of that, the only reason we were talking about any of that is because of media. Think about that. Pause on that for a minute. We didn't read about it. Nobody came up and whispered in your ear. Nobody told you about it. It wasn't a secret. Nobody passed you a note. The only reason we even knew about that any of us knew about that, the only reason it became a story was because of media. Social media, to be exact. Digital media. And all of those became big across multiple platforms. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Every platform, if you go to YouTube right now, it is littered. Please don't do it. Don't search it because the algorithm will start sending you a bunch of it. But it'll start sending you story after story after story about Diddy or Puff Daddy or P. Diddy. It's crazy, but that was all done by media. Here's why I bring that up. Because by and large, the church is either not using or underusing media as a source to scale, grow, and reach people with ministry. And if you are an entrepreneur, because if you're saying, well, I'm not a pastor, or I don't have a church, or I don't have a quote unquote ministry. If you're a Christian in the marketplace, you have a ministry. And you have to think about, how can media help me to grow my business? Help me to grow as an entrepreneur, because you are of ministry. You're ministering to people. And if you don't, even if you say, well, I don't minister, not what I do. I'm not out here putting myself out here like that. Some of you may see what you do as a ministry, but I'm talking to that person right now who doesn't see it as that. Let's just say you don't see it as that. Guess what? If you are a tither, the money that you make in the marketplace is going to minister to the church, local church body that's going to help them reach and serve more people. So you minister. It is a ministry. How can content help you to reach more people? Watch this right here. If you think content is in any way non-consequential, not as important, think about the whole Diddy raid. Think about how many people saw it with the overhead drone and helicopter views. The only reason those helicopters were there was because the media was tipped off by Homeland Security and the FBI. I'm not trying to start a whole conspiracy theory right now because I have no dog in that fight, nor do I really care about it outside of the people who were hurt or are being hurt. But the reason why I mentioned that is because Homeland Security and the FBI realized that media is important and media should be a part of this. Whether you think it was a distraction, whether you think it's a setup, whether you think it was warranted, needed, even whatever you believe, the reason that they utilized media, they made sure the media was there. The media was tipped off. The media translated the cameras, the shots to all of us for us to see. Whatever your reason that you think that happened, media was utilized. So the question becomes is how can you utilize media? So this is a part of our Kingdom Content Workshop, and we provide these to ministries. And so what we're doing today is taking an excerpt from our Kingdom Content Workshop. And this is 7 ways content can benefit your ministry, your business, your reach, what you do in the marketplace. 7 ways content can benefit your ministries. I'm going to move through these. I'm going to try to make sure I stay in a lot of time that we have. Again, think about this from an impact standpoint. Think about this from a reach standpoint. Think about this from a financial standpoint, and think about this. Actually, I'm going through these. Ask yourself the question: are you utilizing these tools? Are you utilizing content? Let's go to that first one. Number 1. 7 ways content can benefit the ministry. Number 1, an increase for the support of the ministry. So content can help you increase the general support of ministry. Now, let me say this. One of the problems one of the reasons why a lot of people do not utilize media more, or as they should, I believe, is because they worry about views. They are concerned that they put this great video out. They're concerned that they posted this clip and this clip only got 60 views. Or this clip only got 180 views. Or we posted one and it got 1,000 views. Oh, that's great. Oh, wow. We posted one and it got 4,000 views. Oh, wow. We posted one and it got 12,000 views. If you get anything over 10, that's what's called viral. Over 10,000. But let me say this to you. Views can be empty calories. It's one of the biggest myths in social media marketing, that people tout views. Views can be empty calories. There are people who have a lot of views but no impact. There are people who have a lot of views and they equate that in reach, but the reach doesn't convert. So don't be so concerned about how many people saw it. Now, there are times you should be concerned about scale. So I'm gonna talk about that a little later. But in the beginning, particularly initially, or if you wherever you are in the process, don't be overly focused so much on views. But again, people seeing your content can help garner support for the ministry. I'll tell you a quick story. Years ago, we had a comedy tour, and we were going to Virginia. I forgot what city in Virginia it was, but we had a sponsor, and the sponsor was PNC Bank. And PNC Bank, they brought a low dollar sponsorship. It was good money, but it wasn't like $100,000 sponsorship. It was a lower end of the sponsorship spectrum. And so I wanted to, my hope was that they would come out and they would be satisfied so we could do more business with them. Well, needless to say, they came out, we had about 600 people at that tour stop that particular night at that church. And it was a great show. Everything was awesome. People really enjoyed themselves. And again, PNC Bank was one of the sponsors. They had a table set up in the lobby. Well, at the end of the night, they said, one of the tour representatives, I believe it was my wife, she went to them. She said, well, how'd y'all do? And they were like, well, we signed up. We opened, get this, we opened 24 accounts. And I was like, in my mind, when she was telling me this, I said, 24? I was like, oh. She said, yeah, 24 people came over to the table. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, dang, 24? I was like, I would hope they would have done a lot more than that. It was over 600 people in the room and only 24 came to the table. And the lady said, no, that's good. She was saying this to my wife. Said, no, this is really good for us. She said, because 24 people came and those 24 people opened accounts. Those 24 people will make deposits. Those 24 people may get a car loan. Those 24 people may do a mortgage with us. Those 24 people may do some type of business. She said, hey, even those 24 people may have some NSF charges. Said, we're going to make a lot of money off those 24 people. I mention that because sometimes it's not about this big, huge number, but it's about reaching the right people, even if it's a smaller number. So don't allow the views or smaller audience, particularly in the beginning, to deter you from creating content. Because truth be told, if we're really talking about, that's the reason why a lot of people are not doing content. Because in their mind, and I'm not saying it's you, but it could be, you put all this time and you invest all this energy and only 42 people watched. I invested all this time and it's only got 27 views. And if you really get into that, it'll really frustrate you if you keep going back and looking at 89 views. Man, 120 views. Particularly if you judging yourself by somebody else. Whole other conversation, don't have time to get into that here. I'm tight on time. But ask yourself if, number one, if you could be getting more support for your ministry by producing content. Number two reasons why you should be producing content. How content can benefit your ministry. Number two, it expands the reach of your ministry. I don't have to go and stay on that too long, but you understand that there are people that will be drawn to your ministry. There are people who will be blessed by your ministry. There's people who will support your ministry. There's people whose lives can be impacted that you will never meet, that you will never see them. But because of social media, because of content creation, you can reach those people. Like I have a friend who has a digital channel, and it's called the My Church channel. And he's been doing, Pastor Lewis Tucker, he's been producing content for years. And so he has now since shut down his local church body, but he's now solely online with the digital ministry. Well, one of the first years that he really made a huge investment into television or digital ministry or social media ministry content, he said he didn't really know how he was going to pay all the bills that were associated with the media content. He said one person one night saw his broadcast and made a pledge, made an offer, made a donation. And that one person, through that one exchange, paid for his entire media budget for the year. So everything that he intended to do in media was paid for by one person. One person. That's a powerful testimony to number one, how you can impact somebody's life. And two, how somebody can bless the ministry. So, number three, I'm sorry. Number three, ways content can benefit the ministry. It equips the people of your ministry, the people in your ministry. So one of the biggest reasons why I'm a big proponent of of content in media ministry, social ministry. I'm a member of Right Direction Church International. I've been a member at Right Direction for about 21 years. Came here in 2003 to do radio. When we got here, we were a member of a church, a good church in Savannah, Georgia. We moved here. We wanted to get connected with a comparable church. We found Right Direction. The reason why we found Right Direction because a friend of mine named Kevin Felder was taking my wife across town to rent a car, and while he worked at Enterprise, and while he was driving across town, he was telling her about the ministry, and she was like, he was so excited about the ministry. That's what made her want to visit the ministry. We visited the Right Direction for a few weeks, and then we wound up joining. Well, I realized that that's not the case for a lot of people that joined our church. A lot of people, I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of people came that way. But a lot of people came to our ministry, Right Direction Church International, through radio, through television, and now through social media, particularly through our radio broadcast, which for years has come on WFMV, which was previously 95.3, which is now another station. But in the heyday of WFMV 95.3, we were coming on at 12 o'clock at night, every single night. So people would hear the ministry. I would hear the ministry sometimes driving home or driving back from someplace. And you would hear a clear 30-minute broadcast of our radio ministry. So and then that morphed into our television ministry, and then now into our social and digital media ministry. That includes Reels, that includes Instagram, that includes YouTube, that includes Facebook. All of these different platforms where our pastors, and Pastor Chandler, utilize these platforms to reach people. So media plays a big part in how people consume, how people get connected to ministry. Myself, I got saved in 99. I got saved again, or I say my career got saved in 2001. But one of the main reasons how I got saved was Pastor Creflo Dollar, who I didn't even know that our bishop was connected to. Our pastor was pastor at the time, was connected to. I got connected to, was watching Creflo Dollar Ministries one night on television, and I had a profound encounter with God. Don't have time to get into it right now, but it was a profound encounter that changed my life. I would not have had that because I wasn't going to church at the time, or very often going to church at the time. And I had this profound kingdom God encounter in a hotel room, ironically, in Columbia, South Carolina. And I wound up moving here some years later. My point is saying that it was television ministry that provide that impact for me. Charles Stanley for years ministered to me on radio before I got saved, before I even accepted Christ. Media ministry, television ministry, radio ministry, social media ministry, contact, impact. It impacts people's lives. Number 4. Number 4. 7 ways content can benefit the ministry. Number 4, it makes you more efficient by multiplying your efforts. Listen, the amount of people that you can reach on even what would look like a poorly viewed social media post is astronomical. Think about this. Let's say you had a street team at your church, and you went out and you did evangelism, or you had a street team that went out and distributed flyers, leaflets, brochures, or just went out and connected with your local community. Let's say you sent out 3 people, and those 3 people over 3 hours on a Saturday connected with 25 people. 25 people they connected with. A genuine connection. Whether they said hello, whether they prayed for them, whether they led them to Christ, whether they just gave them a flyer or leaflet, telling them about an event, or telling them about their services, or invited them out to receive something free, or you distributed something free. If you reached 25 people in 3 hours with 3 people, that would be deemed a huge success. If you told 25 people in 3 hours about your church, had a genuine connection where you talked to them about 2 minutes, or they watched something or listened to something for about 30 seconds or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that would be viewed as a huge success. Well, guess what? If you post a post to Facebook and somebody 27 people see it, view, like, or interact with that particular video or that post, that's somehow deemed as not successful, unsuccessful. Perspective is key. Think about somebody's life and how they may respond and what they may do just because they saw that post. It's key that we keep it in perspective and think about the impact of media, the impact of a reel on Facebook. We have a tour date coming up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Actually, the reason why I'm not on with you all tonight live is because I'm traveling to Little Rock tonight. But we have this social media campaign, and the brother who runs our social media, he sent me the numbers for the amount of people that we reached. Watch this. He sent me the number. We reached 22,000 people in Little Rock, Arkansas with ads to attend a comedy show that's coming up this Saturday. 22,000 people. Out of those 22,000 people, it had 94,000, I believe, or 96,000 impressions. So people reach means actual numbers of people that were impacted by the campaign. Impressions reflect how many in totality out of those 22,000 people. Some of those people saw it 4 times, 5 times. Some saw it 1 time. Some people saw it more than that. So 22,000 people had nearly 100,000 impressions or interactions with the campaign. Think about that in terms of ministry. A post, much less an ad campaign. That's another workshop for another day. But think about the impact of that and how we sometimes misjudge that. Take that number down to a much smaller number, but still yet impactful. Think about if you put up a post and 84 people view it. Again, they may seem like a small number, but 84 people in your community interact with that post. And out of that 84, you convert 4 of those people to actually visit the church, actually interact with your content, actually come into a live service. And out of those 4 people that visit the church, let's say one of those families actually join. Think about that at scale. Think about that from a micro standpoint. We have to consider all of that when we're posting, when we're sharing, and when we determine or deciding if we're going to utilize media, digital media, social media, original content as a part of our media repertoire. Next one, number 5. 7 ways content can benefit the ministry. Number 5, it provides you with the tools to effectively combat the forces of darkness. Let me park here for a few minutes in the few minutes I have left. As the body of Christ, we are not utilizing content to its full capacity to combat the forces of darkness and the effects that it has on the lives of unsuspecting people, families. Do you realize that television, radio, social media, music videos, reality shows, dramatic series, they have a huge and profound effect on the lives of believers. We don't even realize personally, those of us who really subscribe and pursue a Christian lifestyle, believe that we have a Christian worldview, believe and operate from a Christian perspective. We approach things, we have a Christian point of view. Many of us don't realize just how influenced we are by media, arts, and entertainment. One example I utilize: if you're a lady and you do this, you grab air. I know somebody just came into the room and probably like, why is he doing that? If you grab air when you talk, if you talk with you like this right here, or like some people say, talk with your hands, but particularly if you grab air, you influenced by social media. You influenced by reality show culture. You influenced by television media that goes back years. Ratchet media. Another conversation for another day. Yeah. You, believer. Yeah. If you're a male and maybe you wear some smaller suits. Don't get mad with me, nobody. But I'm just keeping it real. Back in the day, when I first got saved, a lot of the guys were wearing the longer suits, the big suits, the quote unquote Steve Harvey suits. Today, those suits have narrowed way down, much more slim, much more fitting. For everybody, not just the world, but Christians too. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I'm saying it's a fact. If you wear a more fitted suit today, that would have been deemed as way too small, way too tight for a man to wear. If you subscribe to a more narrow fitted suit, guess what? You're affected by culture. That's media, arts, and entertainment. That's communicating. That has set a style. That has set a standard for you in the way you dress. That's being affected by media. Number 6, we rolling through it. Still got a few minutes left. 7 ways content can benefit the ministry. Number 6, helps your ministry stay relevant. Okay, let me talk about this for a minute. I think sometimes we discount the voice of our leaders in what's going on today in culture. We don't, sometimes you need to hear your pastor, your leader's voice before Sunday. So if something happens, whether it's war in the Middle East, whether it's something crazy that happens in the United States, whether it's something crazy whether it's entertainment or it's something that's local, whether it's something like, police brutality or mass shootings or any of the things, crazy things that are happening today on a consistent basis, storms, earthquakes, sometimes it'd be good to hear our pastor's point of view prior to Sunday, because everybody else is talking. I'm not saying we need to be talking about everything, that we should be commenting on everything. Some things is foolishness. Some things is something that, like one of my children asked me one time about something that was going on between some rappers or something like that. I'm like, I don't care nothing about that. I could care less. I wouldn't even comment about that. Oh, Dad, you should know. No, I don't. That has no bearing on my life. It has no benefit, in my opinion, to the body of Christ, to the kingdom. It has no benefit to me personally, my relation, or even my children. So I'm not talking about that. But some things are relevant to the community, to the kingdom, to the body of Christ, to the world. And even if I even say this to myself, sometimes it may not be relevant to me, but it may be relevant to the community, relevant to the body, which means maybe we should talk about it or have an opinion about it. Not everything, but sometimes I think social media and the body of Christ should be speaking on some things and show that we are aware and a part of the conversation. Number 7, it allows you to establish kingdom legacy. Recently, Dr. Jerry Savelle passed just this week. And man, I've never met Jerry Savelle. His ministry never booked me for an event, had me come in for a conference. I've never even sat under his ministry in a live setting. But I've experienced Dr. Jerry Savelle's ministry on social media and digital media and television media on several occasions, either through the Believer's Voice of Victory broadcast, either on YouTube, or I've set up under even my own pastors teaching and mentioning him in a workshop or class. I mention that because Dr. Savelle is going on to be with the Lord, but his ministry, the videos will live on. Smith Wigglesworth was a evangelist. I'm talking about 100 years ago. Guess what? I still, to this day, I still consume some of the content that he put out 100 plus years ago. I never did or never will sit up under his actual preaching and teaching ministry, but his books, and there even is some audio recordings of his ministry. You can even find those on YouTube, that has impacted the body of Christ decades and years, hundreds of years, 100 plus years later. That's a legacy. That's a ministry legacy that lives on well past the time that you're on this earth, at the time that a ministry is active. So I got a little more than 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure I get this in. Those are the 7 ways. And again, this is a part of a workshop. This is a extensive workshop where we dig in. We talk about everything from different ways of implementation, different platforms. But I want to talk about this one thing. And I got 5, like I said, just over 5 minutes. I want to make sure I get these in. Go to the next slide, because I want to make sure we talk about this. One of the biggest things you have to do when deciding what type of content that you intend to delve into or put out, determine who your audience is. This has helped me so much. I cannot tell you how much this has helped me as much in my comedy ministry, because I know who my audience is. And when you know who your audience is, you don't pursue other people's audience. You don't get jealous of somebody else's audience, or because their audience doesn't look like yours, or even their numbers or their reach. I know who my audience is, and I actually know how to reach them now. But here are the different demographics, all right, that you should consider and be aware of, and ask yourself, am I targeting or am I ministering to this demographic? Generation Alpha, of course, that's 0 to 10 years old. That's the kiddies. That's the babies. Generation Z, that's 11 to 26. All right. So you got some teenagers in the house. This is who, if you talk about your teen ministry, like our church, our Epic Student Ministries, this is the generation that they're ministering to. Millennials, 27 to 42. I can talk about millennials for a lot. Many of you are watching this or in this room today. You're millennials. There's a significant difference in the way you communicate with millennials than you do with baby boomers. I'm sorry, Generation X. This is my generation. I'm Generation X, 43 to 58. I'm 52 years old. I'm smack dab in the middle of Generation X. We used to be big bag. We used to talk about, we was proud of being Generation X. All right. But you got to know who your audience is. My audience, my personal audience is Generation X and this next demographic, baby boomers. If I look out into the audience of my show, of when I'm on tour, it is Generation X and baby boomers with a sprinkle of the next generation, which is the silent generation, which is 78 to 95. Baby boomers is 59 to 77. So I have a sprinkle of the silent generation, and I'll have a decent size number of millennials that are in the audience. A sprinkle of Generation Zs, very, very few. But the overwhelming, consistent demographic, probably 80%, maybe 70% of the room, is Generation X and baby boomers. What's your audience? What's the audience for your ministry? Do you know that? Have you identified who that is? Have you taken the time to really drill down? And not who you want it to be, but who you're drawing. Sometimes we say we want to be this and we want to be that. I saw this young lady. She had a video that was on social media. A lot of people didn't like what she said, but she said something key. She said, I'm a single woman. And she said, I know I'm a good woman. I'm an attractive woman. I want to be married one day. And she said, you know who I like? I like who likes me. I was like, interesting. She said, yeah. She said, I kind of draw these consistent guys. She said, that's fine with me. I was like, that's an interesting perspective. She likes who likes her. Know your audience. Real quick, in the 2 minutes. Stop. Be quiet, Siri. See Siri trying to get into the conversation. I got 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. Go to this next slide. I want to mention this very quickly. So here's some of the content that you can utilize. Content creation strategy for a ministry or a kingdom entrepreneur. I'm going to run through these real quick. Preaching and teaching, written articles and blog posts, podcast, video content, social media posts, graphic images, newsletters, live stream events, and inspirational quotes and themes. Now, I got a minute and 34 seconds left. If I really go through that, the inspirational quotes and themes, those are like those, you ever scroll past a post on Instagram and it's just like maybe something inspirational, maybe it's a scripture, maybe it's a comment, maybe a thought, even sometimes it's a repost from somebody else, or it's a thought that somebody else has you think is profound and you just simply share it, or you create an image, or you have somebody to create an image for you. That's a very easy way to remain consistent and to stay on social media. Live stream events, that's self-explanatory, but a lot of people don't realize the benefit and how powerful live stream events are. And of course, the rest of that is self-explanatory. Again, I'm out of time, but I want to make sure that I gave you some strategic some ways that you can utilize and why you should be utilizing media as a part of your ministry, as a part of your entrepreneurial marketing strategies. Don't get caught up in numbers. Don't get caught up in views, particularly initially. Views can be empty calories. Of course, you should be growing, but there's several reasons why you may not even be growing on social media. A lot of us don't realize that, and I don't have time to get into it, but a lot of us don't realize that on some of these platforms, particularly FB, I call it the blue plantation, they limit your audience and they don't want you to reach too many people, not unless you're going to pay them. That's why I buy ads when I go on tour. That, you know what? Let me tell you one thing that helped me out real quick. One of the things that helped me out is I'm not concerned about going viral because I know I can go viral if I want to. I can go viral in any city. Like I said, 96,000 impressions in one market off one campaign, and not a lot of money. 22,000 people reached. I only need less than 1,000 people to make my date a successful date. Think about that from a grand scale. Listen, I got to get up out of here. My iPad is telling me that my time is up. But I want to thank Pastor Chandler Bailey and Chandler Bailey Ministries and Chandler Bailey Media Ministries and all of you who serve in a kingdom ministry. Whatever you do, in whatever way you serve, thank you for what you do. And I hope that on some level, this presentation today blessed you. I hope it gave you something to think about, and I hope it's something gave you some tools and some strategies to immediately implement. Again, this is a part of our Kingdom content workshop. This is something that we've done for several individuals and outlets, organizations, and ministries, and we just listen. We just want to share and get the word out. My time is up. I'm a few minutes over my time, but I want to just say thank you so much. Thank you all for allowing me to be with you. I'm Akintunde, comedian Akintunde, producer Akintunde. You can follow me at comedian Akintunde across all of your social media platforms. It's the Akintunde Show on YouTube, and if you want to follow me on Cash App, I'm producer Akintunde. Little joke. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all. Thank you, PC. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you to the entire family here tonight. And until next time, I'm going to see y'all when I see y'all. Peace.